Hello and welcome to the mill. I am your host, Dusty Crane, and this week I thought we would talk about this expansion right here, Tapestry Arts and Architecture. Now, if you don't know, I am a Stonemaier sponsored YouTube channel, fan YouTube channel. So what that means is, for the most part, I do not monetize this channel because Jamie sponsors this channel, and Stonemaier Games specifically. So that's just, I'm not allowed to do reviews. That's part of the deal. I can't do reviews. However, I'm free to talk about the products that I want to, however I want, just not in a review. So I wanted to talk about my favorite aspects of this expansion right here because, in my opinion, this is the best of the expansions for Tapestry so far. Plots and Ploys, very good. But, and it was largely more of what we were used to. There was, a few little twists here and there, but like for the most part, if you liked and enjoyed Tapestry, it was more of what we were already used to, which, was good. And there was, stuff like, the new landmark cards. So there was new stuff, but Arts and Architecture does what my favorite types of expansions do, and that is give you more of what you like, but also provide something new that integrates almost seamlessly, right? So let's talk about the big thing people notice first in this expansion is this arts track right here. It makes sense when we look at what makes up our civilizations, technology, military, science, and exploration, that arts has to be a part of it, right? The new arts track provides a new type of card, which is these masterpiece cards here, which are really appropriately named because I think they are clever enough and they do add one of my favorite parts. So let's go ahead and talk about the arts track and the masterpiece cards. The arts track, Jamie's talked about it in his design diaries. By now, you've probably seen people getting their copies of the game. And, it's a new track. If you on your turn, you're doing an advanced turn and which track you move down, there's another option here for you on the arts track. And you see a lot of the commonality early on, a tapestry card, 5 victory points, or you can pay the bonus and gain a building of your choice. And then your third option there is a tapestry card. You can see that there's more landmarks to add to your city mats here, and those are new. There's some new ones in this expansion too. But the thing I like about these masterpiece cards is they really do give you that. What's the most fun about, when you do income turns, particularly later in the game, is, you've uncovered some of these areas here. You're getting more than just your, you're starting 1, 1, 1, 1. You actually start adding these to your mat right here, laying them on top of Makers of Fire. And so when you're taking income, you also have this other income that comes by way of these masterpiece cards. Now, there are some exceptions. Some of them are a one and done kind of masterpiece card, but overall, it's fun to gain more resources, gain more victory points, gain more buildings, whatever resources, whatever that may be. It's fun. It's another fun way to look at your civilization. So in the case of, mine here, I haven't added anything on, but we might say like, I invented public art and the printing press, right? And then fresco paintings, or one of them's Krav Maga, martial arts, stained glass. Like, it's another way to tell the story of your civilization. So I really, really like those masterpiece cards because I like in the income turn, especially late, where you're just pulling in all these extra resources, victory points. So anything that gives you more feels good, right? And so that's what we come to board games for usually, is to feel good, to have some fun. And so I really, really like that addition to arts and architecture, the addition to Tapestry. Another thing that I really like about this expansion are these inspiration tiles. And really for the same reason that I like these masterpiece cards, because, if you make your way down the track here and you get some inspiration, you can choose which one of these tracks you want to upgrade. And you're just doing one for each inspiration, so it's not like a wholesale change. Maybe you've made it the most down, maybe you've made it the most down this track right here, and you want to go ahead and lay this over. It's not a huge difference, but it is enough of one. So the first spot is exactly the same. The second one, you add a couple victory points. Third one's the same. The fourth one, there's some additional victory points. The fifth one is the same, and then the sixth one is, instead of a 10 victory point, it's 15 victory points. And this is another one of those things, is like, you're not necessarily gaining more resources, you're gaining more victory points in this case. And each one is basically the same. I mean, you might get, so this one, it's for tiles that you have available to you. This one, you would gain victory points for, how many tech cards you have invented. Maybe it's just tech cards. I'd have to look into that. No, I guess it's invented. And then, this one right here is for how many of these gray buildings you have, and so on. And so, there was the question out there when this first came out, is this going to increase scores? Because we've already seen some wild scores. And especially, we've seen people report them, but now that it's playable, Tapestry is playable on a digital platform like Board Game Arena, and people can actually see other people's playthroughs, you can really get an appreciation for, how high these numbers can go. And so, yes, I do think arts and architecture is going to increase scoring, just by the nature of the inspiration tiles, by the nature of another track to go down. There's more landmarks that you can add to your mats here. And that brings me to the third thing that I really like about this expansion, and it's these new mats, right? This one in particular, the Mesa, you see, kind of like what we're used to seeing here with these impassable terrain, but this one says, this is a mesa. So you're down in a valley here, and it says landmarks may not extend outside of your city grid. And so just knowing that there's no hanging over, right, that you are confined to this area provides a new kind of spatial puzzle that, these mats already did. It was already a bit of a spatial puzzle, but the new ways, the new mats that have different rules, like, you're not just filling a 3x3 grid. You might have a cloud. I think Cloud City is one of them. There's another one that is, you're building at the top layer, and once that top layer is filled, then you can move down to the next layer. And instead of gaining points for the columns, you're gaining points for the rows, but they're double the points. Except for if you make it all the way down to that bottom, then you're making 3 points instead of 2. So the new spatial puzzle that there is really good. It's fun, right? So there's also, so this one is kind of silly, but look at the size of, so this is the original Conquer or Science dice, and you can see normal size D12 there, and here we have the new D20. That thing is much bigger, and just for comparison, this is just a regular D20 that I had from a Dungeons and Dragons. Just bought a bag of dice for Dungeons and Dragons, and that was one of them. So you can see that D20 is much larger, which is fun. I like dice, and so having that big chunky dice was cool to find in the box. Now, the last thing I want to mention, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? For the most part, it is. For the most part, it is. But this is something that came up on the Facebook Tapestry group, and I want to acknowledge it because it also ties into an instant message, or a DM that I got on Twitter just last week, and talking a little bit about this subject itself. So these ones, we got 2 of the new landmark cards, and the windmill, you would be totally unable to tell, but it turns out that these images are mirrored. So what I mean by that is, if you were just using the landmark card, for this one, you'd be fine. You can see the shape, that you would want to put into your city. You can do, some planning using the card or whatever. Normally, I'll get to that in a second. But the villa here, you see, this shape actually is looking from the bottom up. This is mirrored. So in reality, the villa actually is, you got the 3 right here, but in reality, it's actually the 3 over here and the 2 over here. And so in actuality, that's mirrored. It's flipped. So there were some people that were upset by this, made some comments in the Tapestry, but one thing that Jamie brought up, and this is what we talked about too when I discovered it after my initial playthrough, you are going to have this landmark in front of you. And now, I don't know about you, but typically on my landmark, I have the building sitting right there. I mean, no one else can get it but me, so I have the landmark building sitting right there. If you have the villa sitting right here on this mat, you can see the shape, right? You probably just playing, where am I going to put this on my mat? So it's unfortunate that those are mirrored, but it's not game breaking. And it is something that when you actually, chances are, if you actually have the landmark out on your card, chances are you're using that for your planning. You're not looking at the card. You're actually, putting the building down and kind of manipulating it around your board and getting ideas for it. So this becomes less of a deal. I do imagine that the next print run of Arts and Architecture, whenever that is, it's probably a little ways out. Or maybe not. Maybe this is huge and good for Stonemaier. But I would imagine this will be fixed in the next print run. But not a super big deal, but I felt like if I didn't mention it, that people would, accuse me of, I guess, being selective in what I cover. So this brings me to that DM that I got, that I'm interested in whether you've heard this terminology, because I got a DM from, I have to believe it was like a throwaway account, because it was a name and a bunch of numbers, and the communication did not start out great. The DM said something about like, when are you going to talk? And this was on the Mills Twitter account. So they know it wasn't just like to my personal. They said, when are you going to talk about the Stonemaier Tax, you coward? And I almost ignored it, but I was so curious what they meant by the Stonemaier Tax. So I actually sent I guess it was kind of a kill 'em with kindness kind of deal, right? It was one of those, hey, thanks for, sending me a message or something like that. Thanks for checking out the mill. What do you mean about Stonemaier Tax? Because even though this is a sponsored channel, we can talk about whatever it is. And so I'm just curious. I'm not going to go into any more detail of what they told me their opinion of the Stonemaier Tax was. In the talking, they actually responded back to me, and we actually had a little bit of a dialogue, and it was more productive than just, when are you going to cover this topic, you coward? And they apologized too. I guess they were in a little bit of a mood when they sent it. So I'm going to ask you: have you ever heard of anybody say anything about something called the Stonemaier Tax? And I think I want to talk about it next week, because I learned something from that conversation, and really kind of caused me to think on the whole process around what this person was talking about. So I'm going to leave you with that. Overall, Tapestry Arts and Architecture, the best expansion for Tapestry so far. Just because I love the arts track, I love the masterpiece cards. Those two things alone would have made this expansion for me. The new mats here, the city mats, are nice. I like them. I like the the new track to work from. But ultimately, for me, what I love is this arts track, these masterpiece cards, and these inspiration tiles, because for me, that income phase is so fun, to gather and get more and more every single time. So major winner for me. I'm curious if you have received your copy yet, what you think of it, if you've had a chance to play any games with it. I know those are still going out to a lot of people, and I know there's also been some frustration about FedEx being used as a provider. Stonemaier does allow you to have some, leeway in who you choose, but at the same time, it is the holiday season, and our shipping is already so screwed up anyway, right? So please take it easy on Joe. Please take it easy on Jamie and Alex, whoever you talk to over at Stonemaier. And, you know, they want you to have the game too, right? I mean, I've not seen a review that was like, yeah, so I'm sure that they're just as excited to get this to you as you are to play it. So let's take it easy on them. Do let me know in the comments what you think the Stonemaier Tax is. We'll talk about it next week, all right? Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Thanks for watching.